go into a
Sorry,
company
Mark, sorry,
and work
mate,
out
sorry.
what's wrong.
Mark, sorry, got to jump in. 2 seconds. Can I just start again? Sorry, mate. I just hadn't flicked the switch.
Sure.
Sorry, dude. Really apologise for that.
No,
So, Mark, thanks for joining us at our event. Sorry you can't be here, but really appreciate your time. Could you tell us who you are and what you do and where you came from?
Sure, yeah. So Mark Shayler, I run a company called 8, which is an innovation and eco-design consultancy. I started out a long time ago, Dan. I started out 24 years ago now, working with small business. My first job was in London, working with a transport think tank called Test, where we were advising the then shadow transport minister, John Prescott, on how to reduce the impact of transportation, which was really good. I learned a lot, actually. I like those placements. It's interesting. I was thinking back on this the other day. You're going to do a degree, and the value of degrees are, increasingly in question. Do one with a bloody placement. Go and get out of your depth, and don't choose one where you're sat doing rubbish tasks. You just fill in time. I went to a place where there was only 3 people, and there were many more blue chip placements I could have done. But because there were only 3 people, I ended up doing some really high-powered or hard. Not maybe the work wasn't that great, but certainly the responsibility that was given to me was enormous. So I love that. I then went to Bradford Council. I was an environmental audit officer for about 6 years, and spent a lot of time with small textiles companies, packaging companies in Bradford, looking at how to reduce the impact of what they do. And when you can change the process, that's great. But when you can't change the process because the product design is set, you kind of run into a brick wall. So I had to go away and learn about product design, and I did. And once you've learned about design and the design process, I'm not a designer at all, but I do design. I'm not a trained designer. And once you've kind of learned that kind of skill, frankly, then you've kind of hit the nirvana in terms of environmental impact, because 80% of the impact of a product is set during the design phase. So that's what I did. I grew that. I ran that. Went to Business Link when they emerged, and then I got headed by Asda to go and be their head of environment, which I enjoyed, but actually it wasn't really for me, and I don't think I was really for them, if I'm honest. I've always been a bit too disruptive, possibly. Unemployed would be another word. And I left there and set my company up. Ran a company called Eco3 for 8 years, brought in all the money, did the vast majority of the work, and then decided to go my own way. And I've been working on circular economy for, well, we called it resource efficiency originally. We called it waste management, waste minimisation. Frankly, it's all the same. It's doing things better. And I seem to have been doing that for a lifetime. You'd think A, I would be good at it, and B, I'd be rich by now, and I'm certainly not the latter.
Some great career advice there. I totally agree with internships and being pushed early on to get outside your comfort zone, because you just kind of like you succeed just because you're outside your comfort zone. It kind of interesting things happen. So great career advice there. What would happen in a typical day for you, Mark, just to give people a background, an insight?
Well, I was thinking about that earlier when your question popped up in my inbox, and there isn't one. That's the truth. It varies massively, but there are 2 kind of models. First, if I'm in the studio, but by the way, work in an office, you'll only ever push paper around. If you work in a studio, you might create great things. So just a little bit of terminology change makes the world of difference. If I've got a day in the studio, I'll get up at about 5:30. I'm an early riser. I go for a bike ride, or I do yoga. Yoga, I know. I used to play rugby and drink beer and eat meat. And at the moment, I do yoga and I'm bloody vegan, which is frankly just a terrible thing. The world's changed beyond belief. So I get up early, do some exercise, get the kids breakfast, bring them to school. School is where my studio is, so I'm normally in for about 20 past 8. And I work all morning, but I don't sit down all morning. I think the key thing is to stand up, move around. My 10,000 steps are really important, so I try and get those in. I've got a stand-up desk in the corner. I take regular breaks to watch bits of video. I'm fucking easily distracted. So Twitter's a nightmare. I'm learning to turn that off and just focus on what I'm trying to do, which is working. Partly down to some advice from yourself, young man. And then I'll work till lunchtime, make sure I go out at lunch, get some exercise, and then work all afternoon. That's it. That's the studio day. I'll go home, cook tea, go in the garden, feed the ducks, feed the chickens, put them away, come back in and go to bed really early. I go to bed about 10 o'clock. If I'm out for the day, if I'm in London or if I'm out with a client, I tend to be out of the house at about 7. On the train at 7:15 and in London at 8:15, or drive to a client, and then I work there all day. And again, if I'm in a walk everywhere, London's a lot smaller than people think. I could be anywhere within 55-minute walk, and normally that's a 30-minute tube. So the way I look at it is it's an extra 25 minutes, and I'll get 2 miles worth of walking in, and that's great for exercise, isn't it? When you get to a certain age, you need it. More importantly, it's brilliant for thinking and for stimulus. So when you walk through a town, lift your eyes up, look around, and my best ideas never come to me when I'm sat in front of the computer. They probably never come to me when I'm sat in the studio. They generally always come to me when I'm thinking about something else. So I try and build something else into my day all the time. And if I'm doing a presentation, that's straightforward. I get there. I try and get there early, but yesterday I squeaked in at about 1 minute to go, and I don't get nervous anymore. I don't even often have a script, just because I've been doing it for a long time, and I love that. And it's interesting actually. The immediate feedback presented by social media is fascinating. So you used to do a talk and you get off the stage, and then people would come up to you, or they'd email you later. Now you can be sat on the stage, and I'm an absolute bugger for this, checking my Twitter feed and seeing what people, as I'm asking questions. And that's really good because you can then respond to some of that. It's really bad and you're not listening to the question properly, and you get caught out when it comes to answering. So
multitasking.
Yeah, well, doing lots of things badly. But there is no typical day, but it has to include exercise. It has to include some kind of thinking and creativity, but not necessarily timetabled or sat down. And it has to include some cooking. And it has to include an animal. That not in an untoward way. That generally is my day.
That is there's some absolutely golden advice there for anybody listening on productivity and keeping your brain fresh. Mark, what about telling us a little bit about the work you do for clients? What you're involved with at the minute, and what sort of projects you're running. Okay,
so at the moment, about 3 or 4 really exciting things on the go. I'm still involved with the Great Recovery. So the Great Recovery is a RSA and Innovate and Zero Waste Scotland funded project to try and build designers into the resource flow process. So this came about. Sophie Thomas, who set it up, and she was talking to somebody who was recycling fridges, and the big issue was all the fridges were different, all the compressors were different, all of the you needed to get out and make safe or recover were different. And the thought was, if we did this in a slightly different way, if we designed things better, their jobs would be easier, and probably the yield that we pull out would be better. And I've been wrestling with this for a long, long time. So Sophie asked me to get involved, and I lead a number of their workshops now. So talk about circular economy, talk about, I've done a number of process flows or source maps for different products. I've looked at laptops, I've looked at jeans, I've looked at sofas, I've looked at massive trucks like diggers, I've looked at sat navs, and we've looked at a really complex one actually, was a performance jacket, a kind of membrane-based outable jacket, a walking jacket. And so I've tracked where those things that were made come from. So we split everything back down to parts. And often we'll start with one thing. So we'll start with a mineral or a rare earth, and we'll build up from there. And it's crazy. The chaos of global supply chains is frightening. Of course, it isn't chaotic. Of course, it's well managed, but it feels chaotic. Tell me what it feels like. It feels like it could collapse really easily. It feels like if there was an extreme weather event or some kind of transport problem, such as an ash cloud, then the whole thing would be hanging by a thread. And I think that's probably true, actually. And so I'm mapping that to the Great Recovery. That was a kind of problem definition. And the work that I do for them now is more on business models. So we'll do the old tear down. I've been doing tear downs for 20 years. Things have got a lot better in product design. But one of the best things that we did is move from understanding what's wrong with a product towards understanding what the market needs and redesigning a solution for the market. And that doesn't always mean product design. That can often mean process design or service design. So I spend a lot of time doing that now. So that's one thing. The second thing I do is I'm part of a small team that run the Do Lectures, which is like TED, but based in Wales and lots better. And so we're building, we have a big event that runs 3 times a year around the world, and we're building a number of other kind of consultancy or workshop offers around there. So that's taken up a good chunk of my time. And then I run a project called Rebel Cell. My big clients, all of my big clients, have asked the same question over the last 12 months, and that is, how do we think like a startup? How do we think lean and agile? And so building on the whole kind of trend of entrepreneurship, myself and partner Tim will take a company and we'll build a startup, or a big company, we'll build a really small cell inside it, and we'll supercharge it, and we'll give them very little money, a lot of enthusiasm, really constrained time scales. And it's that whole kind of seed keep the, if you are going to fail, we don't want them to fail. If they are going to fail practically, but no risk. And we're seeing phenomenal interest, actually. We've got people from some of the world's largest companies wanting to join us, and it really isn't a thing yet. It's just starting. And then for my private clients, I'm doing a lot of business modeling and a lot of innovation strategy. So how do you get from 2015 to 2030 and still survive? Because all the giants are struggling. All of the big companies are a bit lost. They don't know where to go. They don't necessarily know how to get there. And so most of the work I'm doing is how do we make more money by selling less stuff? How do we engage consumers that are becoming more conscious? That's a Western issue. The Eastern world is growing at pace. Consumerism is shifting there. When Paul sell more beer in China than they do in America, you can see the pattern of consumption is going to go that way. That presents significant challenges, obviously.
Right, great. That's so that's why we're here to talk about this. Mark, have you got a mic, or have you got some iPhone headphones you could plug into your laptop and your I'm just a bit concerned about the quality of the sound. That's all.
Have I got a what? Sorry, a set of earphones?
Yeah, or so yeah, for your iPhone, just to stick in your laptop. I'm just a bit concerned about the sound. That's all. I'll cut this out afterwards, obviously.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some earphones, mate. If that's better.
Yeah,
Can we do that?
Yeah, please.
Give me 2 seconds.
Have they got a mic on them by any chance?
Yeah. How's that? Is that better?
Much better, yeah. Quality. Good stuff.
Cool.
Good. I should have said that at the start. Not to worry. Right, so I'll cut that last couple of minutes out. But so, Mark, you were mentioning there about the journey of your clients from now to 10 and 20 years in the future. So we're getting into the real meat of this subject here. You also mentioned earlier that this used to be called resource efficiency or waste minimization. So can you talk a little bit about what the tactics are for these large companies? How are they changing their models?
Okay, so I think most large companies are in a kind of crisis existentially, philosophically, because we can see these big global trends, and they are huge overconsumption, resource scarcity, skill shortages, the change in the way that we consume in the West, people wanting to consume less and better. There'll always be a chunk of people that want to consume shitloads and don't really mind where it comes from, but that's becoming a smaller chunk. And we're seeing the rise of the agile threat, the small company. You can't quash these things anymore. You can't quash Uber or Spotify or you can't quash your competitors because they come out of nowhere and they come really fast. And I think in many ways it's super exciting, but if you're a large company, you've got a lot to lose. So, when you see Tesco's, McDonald's, Coca-Cola really having to reassess what they do. We can't have business models that damage supply chains, make people fat and ill anymore. That's just not viable anymore. You have to do good with every penny that you've got. And this mirrors this beautiful shift from CSR into CSV, creating shared value, where we do good with every penny or every dollar or every cent or whatever. And I well, part of that is that people don't necessarily want to own the thing that you're selling, that they want to use it, and that going through a retailer costs you money. You pretty much, retailers will double the wholesale price in order to get it to us. So we're paying twice as much as it costs. The manufacturers' margins are cut, and the retailers are sat in the middle, and no one's really committed to using retailers in the future. The model's changing. Why would you always want a direct relationship? So there's a number of companies that are really kind of worried about this and are changing what they do. Now, we'll always, shopping is now a leisure activity. Actually, I would say shopping is now an antidepressant for many. Feeling a bit glum, go out for a shop. Feel a bit down, shite. I mean, that tends to be how shopping really means for most companies. And larger companies are panicking into this consumers. So the work that I'm doing with them is kind of looking 15 years out. What 2030? How does the consumer change what he or she is doing? This is in the West. The East is a different matter. What does that look like? Where are we going to go? So I do a lot of trend spotting. Weirdly, I never thought I'd be in this world, and a lot of brand work now as well. So what are we trying to communicate and why? And then the biggest surprise of my life is that I now design business models, because frankly, that was not traditionally. But I've just done a really nice leasing business model for a major international white product, and that now looks like it's going to go somewhere, and they're going to introduce this into customers, because the leasing paradigm has often been mooted as the savior of kind of business and the environment. And for some companies that really works, and for others it doesn't. And the question that I always get thrown at me in presentations is, going to end up paying more. How can poor people afford it? Well, the thing is, that strata of the population already pay more. I was with a company yesterday. I got called up over a presentation where I was criticised high interest rates of 29% for selling, frankly, cheaper goods for lots of money on low incomes. I got called up on it by this geezer that runs a very similar company. And so I sat and listened and said, okay, then, so apologies if I've painted you all with the same brush. Just remind me what your interest rate is. 59.9%. So they're charging people on income support, on benefits, 60% interest to buy stuff. That's not ethical. That's just wrong. How do these people sleep at night? Well, that's one thing. Well, because he felt like I was attacking his sector, which frankly, hands up, they're dreadful. They're vampires. They shouldn't exist. But when you can't get credit anywhere else, they'll thrive, obviously. So my point is,
is this the loan sector or the renting TVs and that sort of thing?
It's the rental and hire purchase of TVs. It's not the loans. I know nothing about that world. So if that model already exists, I mean, the good thing is people can go through that process. They can get an LG or a Samsung or whatever it is television, and they'll be paying it off for 10 years at a stupid rate, and they'll pay 5 times what it really costs, whatever that is. If that model already exists, we use it for good. Why don't we drop the interest rates, change the way the payments are formed, the housing association payments? At the moment you can rent a house from a social housing provider, and increasingly you'll be able to rent your life on them. You'll be able to get these products, but get good eco-design products. And this is really interesting. The white goods or the TV manufacturers, whatever it is, they make more money this way, and deliver greater social good because they haven't got a retailer to go through. So the basis for the models that I'm working on already exist. Not everyone wants to go down this route, Dan. So some of my clients, people like RS Components, they don't want to lease. You know, that they're a very good selling company. So what they've done is, rather than lease, they'll buy a product back at the end of life for a guaranteed fee. So by any other definition, it's kind of delayed leasing or a changed leasing model, but it's just been sold in a different way. So that's what I'm doing on kind of business models, and it's working. And every company I'm engaged with is saying, that's interesting, because we know the way forward isn't the way back. You know, it's not, we can't carry on doing the things we've always done.
So are you saying there's subsets of the leasing model?
Yeah, absolutely. There are subsets to the model, completely. So I wear really expensive jeans made in cardigan, and I wear them because the cut's right, and I wear them because if they break, they get repaired free for life. So I'm paying a lot of money up front, you know, and you can lease these jeans actually, but I buy them. I pay a lot of money up front, jeans I've ever bought. They'll be the cheapest jeans I ever own. Because if I don't get 10 years out of them, I'll be bloody livid, and they'll just keep going back for repairs. And you know, that company are thriving on the reputation that comes with our products are so good, we'll look after ever. And you know, Dr. Martens have done this. They've done so well with their Dr. Martens for life, their DMs for life model. It works brilliantly. Why wouldn't you buy DMs? As long as you're not in your sort of like late 80s, that would be the thing. But other than that, you'd do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, what stage are we at of this change? Are we is it still the early adopters, or is it starting to be coming to that next sort of phase where it's not far off being something that's mainstream? What sort of time frame do you think it will be before mainstream as well?
I think you said, at what stage in the process are these companies? Is it still the early years? I think that's what you said. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this is all new stuff, isn't it? Because, you know, at the moment, we're still running really fast towards a cliff. We're running towards changing consumer patterns cliff that companies don't know. So they're not certain what to do. And their response is to do stuff cheaper. I don't want cheaper. I want better. And that may cost me a lot of money in the long term. Sorry, it may cost me more money in the short term, but it'll save me money in the long term. And I think there's a huge block mentally for these companies to get over in terms of changing the way they earn money, because we've had 70, 80, 90 years of doing the same thing: mass production, planned obsolescence, mass consumption. That model works when you've only got a small world population. That model does not work when the world population A grows and B bourgeoisificates itself. That's a word, I've just made it up. When it turns increasingly middle class, and so we're really at the early stages of this. And companies like me, they've launched a leasing scheme. Samsung are about to do the same thing with social housing providers. You've got Mud Jeans, Hyatt Denim, they're beginning to do the same thing. What I want to happen is I want the brands to own schemes themselves. What I don't want to happen is for third parties to sit in the middle and do it for them, because they'll all make 30% profit, and that's where you get your 59% interest rates from.
Okay, that's great. Any advice you'd like to give to the audience about pushing this forward? Anything you've learned that might help make their jobs easier?
I think the key thing is to understand what you're selling and who you're selling it to. Understand what they want. So just redesign everything. Start from fresh. Audience. Observe the people that you sell product to. What are they really buying? Are they buying a bike, or are they buying a little bit of evening meditation when they're on their own? Are they buying exercising? You know, or is it after work that they're after their own? In which case, you're buying. Or you'll go. So you need to understand what you're selling, and then you need to understand how people want to consume it. And from there on in, your business model depends on your customer base. What do they want? How do they want to consume it? How can you build a business model around that? And it won't necessarily just be to buy more stuff out of the door. There's a great example. There's a company in Glasgow called Track. They make Track Adventure Carry, I think they're called. They make bags, and they're really bloody, but they are beautifully made. So the barrier to buying them is super high. You know, you've got to pay a lot of money, but once you've got them, then your costs are really low, because you'll just keep the same bag forever. And what I love about Track is they are a British manufacturer. Everything where they can, apart from the buckles, I think, they're actually sourced in Scotland, let alone Britain. So I don't even know whether Britain's going to exist for much longer. So I love the fact that we are beginning to see some reshoring, but clearly that's going to change pricing structures, and that's going to change business models. And that's our big challenge. Look around, see what other people are doing, see if it works. Make the best product that you can make. How do we make products that last longer and perform better and still give you an income? So that, you know, we can't just sell them. That's, you know, it's not going to work, is it? Make an everlasting light bulb, you're never going to make any money on it. So you have to sell light rather than light bulbs, and that's where we've got to shift.
Wow, great stuff. So Mark, how can any of our attendees get in touch with you should they have any more questions or require your services? What's the best way?
Oh, you just email me, mark@thisisape.co.uk, or via Zero Waste Scotland, or via The Great Recovery. Mate, it's so easy to find anyone these days. Type the name of people and you'll find a stream of rubbish on Twitter from me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And any last any book recommendations? What book should people be reading?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this for somebody else the other day, and I'm really bad at finishing books. So I can't remember the last book that I started and finished. And then I thought, actually, do you know what? It's Seth Godin and The Icarus Deception, which is a brilliant read. And what that says is, you know, we've been frightened of flying too low. Actually, that's kept us down a little. Sorry, we're frightened of flying too high, which means it's kept our aspirations down. And Icarus Deception is a really good read. I'm a massive fan, and I know it's hackneyed and cliched, but I'm a massive fan of Paul Arden's "It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be," because, you know, we get into a framework of what we are, a self-definition that is often imposed by externals, actually, and we think of ourselves. I ran a workshop yesterday for, I don't know, there was probably 300 people there, and I hand up if you think you're creative, and we had less than 20%. And the truth is, everyone is creative, everyone is a designer, everyone can think, but we've told ourselves we can't, and this is bonkers. You don't have to wear a roll neck and thick black glasses to consider yourself a creative. Those phrases are dead and hackneyed, and we need to get away from them. So I'm a big fan of Paul Arden. It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be, because it tries to help you redefine yourself. My favorite book of all time is probably Lord of the Flies. I don't think you'll get a more astute observation of how people are when there are no watches and no rules, and that fills me with bloody fear. And then, of course, Daniel, you would expect me to mention my own book as well, which is probably worth a read too.
Hold that up again, Mark, so everyone can see.
Sorry, man, I missed that.
Hold that up again so everybody can see.
No, I still can't get you, man. You're breaking up big time.
Is the internet not? Is it crackling? Is it? Anyway,
I'm getting every other word, Dan.
Right. Okay. So, Mark, thank you for your time and expertise this morning. I know you've got a 10 o'clock, so we'll sign off, and thanks very much.
No idea what you're saying, but you look lovely.
Right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mark. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.